My name is Adam Welly. I'm owner of Wayward Seed Farm in Fremont, Ohio. We farm about 45 acres of organic vegetables a year, specializing primarily in carrots and beets and cole crops. And our focus of discussion today has been on stale seed bedding and pre-plant weed control. It's the easiest way to become weed-free, is to start weed-free. Nutrition, you can add more fertilizer. You can drill another well. You can irrigate more. But your efficacy of your weeds, limiting that through either rotation or this implementation like this, is the limiting factor for all of us that are first or second generation, like new generation organic farmers. This is our limiting scale, is weeds. It really is. So that's why the toolage and everything is so important. I mean, we're a farm that was really small, that's built quite a bit of scale. And that factor is, what we're about to do again is we're about to grow by 33% again, and this tool is gonna help us do that. So I think the first thing that a lot of my colleagues and I would talk to farmers about and give advice is proper bed shaping from the start. If you can shape a bed with either a rototiller, a pan shaper or a rototiller, or in this case, maybe some people will even use a disc bedder. Anytime that you can build a bed and level it as flat as possible, from the start, what you have is an even table that you can use any implement on. So I tell people you're gonna spend less time staling, and you're gonna have a better seed bed, and you're gonna have more success in your planting when you have a really good bed. So that's the first part I'll always stress, is building them straight, building them flat, building them even with whatever implement that you choose. Secondary to that, shallow's best, and when we use something that's on the mid-mount, like a basket, we do get nice even sway and pressure on the bed. If we use a 3-point hitch item like a rototiller or a rotary hill or even a back basket, we sometimes get undulation in the beds and it creates hilling. So we love baskets. I think a Lilly tine rake or just a tine rake in general is really good too. I think people just also have to just be careful at depth and how much tension they're putting on their tines, because tines can be more aggressive than people think, and sometimes they can really destroy your shape of your bed. But in this case, with what we're using kind of this lighter, more Euro style rake that mostly just kind of really gently, Kurt Bench would say from Shared Legacy, tickles the top of the bed. But I think there's some factual basis to that, which is we don't want to agitate too much. So when we talk about stale seed bedding, I definitely think of a rototiller as a possibility. Baskets are excellent, Lilly Tine Weeder. I think you could also use knives. You could use beet knives to shallowly cultivate a bed top, and even run these rakes behind those if you had that as an option on your farm, depending on scale. The last thing, there is brush weeders too, which I don't have a lot of experience with, but when I've watched videos of them, I think brush weeders do a lot of what you see here in the sense of just really, really lightly agitating the top of the soil. So, but I've never found anything better in my experience that I can just adjust depth with better than a basket. We have other people that I've met over the past that swear by rakes because they think they're more gentle. I think the easiest way to do really well with a basket is to go as shallow as possible. So they can go deep if you wish, but in our case, with using a 520, the Tilmor, we've been able to, with the hydraulics, really, really feather in how deep that the basket goes. If I don't get a large percentage, I would say 3/4 of those weeds before I plant something like carrots that might take 7 to 10 days of germination, then we do objectively create a question of whether it could be a profitable crop. I mean, we like to evaluate whether we're gonna keep the crop in the ground at essentially emergence and first cultivation. So what sometimes happens if we have a wet year and we've done a poor job of this, we might wait to plant and have to plant radishes or something that might be less marketable or that we have to change our marketing plan for. So I think part of it, in all honesty, is sticking with the marketing plan. If we're trying to grow a lot of carrots for market, this essentially, by eliminating almost 80 to 90% of the weeds before we pre-plant, keeps kind of things intact for the farm plan. That's the biggest thing. It tries to keep us on plan versus when we get maybe a 5-inch rain and we haven't done this, or 5 inches over the course of the week, we might have to say, hey, we need to propagate in the greenhouse and do something different from the fall because we've lost this planting. So that's the biggest thing we do. How it affects us for later in the year is that we will literally change crops if we can't essentially set the table for these harder crops that are a little bit more tedious. So it's a difficult question to answer in the sense that that's kind of the way that I've made changes. If I can't get this carrot planting, I would reshape the beds and I'd say, what are we doing on the calendar and what can we plant now that we can still sell? So we make a lot of changes sometimes mid-season to our plan and find maybe the next thing that we think we can market. The other thing I want to say about seed bedding is it is a really effective way also of incorporating your pre-plant fertilizer. So you apply fertilizer to your bed or to your bed top with a Gandy or broadcast cone, broadcast spreader, and it just will lightly incorporate that into the root zone of what you're transplanting or what you're going to direct seeding. So it does have that added benefit as well of just taking your fertilizer and just lightly incorporating it into the soil so it can start becoming more available to your plant. I think that's something that's very underestimated in the process and does help your plants grow fast, which is the other thing that helps you beat weeds, is getting plants established and getting them irrigated and growing fast.